Alright, so boom, this past weekend proves that the NFL continues to be king in this country, because I thought the conversation in sports was centralized around the Boston Celtics eventually and now winning their 18th franchise championship, and the Florida Panthers possibly going on to win their very first Stanley Cup final. Their game is going on as we speak, but evidently the NFL Combine was extended after the draft because Terrell Lewis was running the 40-yard dash, and there was a harlot who was testing her doggone attributes right behind him.
I got it.
The uncensored version of this video where you can see Shorty naked is up on Patreon, so make sure you guys click that pinned comment or the link in the description if you want to see it. I'm gonna have to leave it blurred over here on YouTube so I don't mess around and get a strike. They might mess around and strike me anyway. You know how YouTube treat me, so make sure you support me on Patreon if you have an opportunity.
Hell, somebody call the police.
Run!
Run for your life!
I got it.
He's a runner. He's a track star. He's going to run away when it gets hard. He can't take the pain. He can't get scarred.
Shorty was showcasing her speed in the wrong event. She was stride for stride with Lewis in the 10-yard shuffle. From the desk to the door, she was right there. But upon exiting the door, take a look at her hair. It looked like she got caught with a stiff arm.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
She thought she could hawk this man down like Benjamin Watson did Champ Bailey in the 2005 NFL playoffs.
Brady rolled out to his left and just threw it right to me.
Throws a run pass, gonna be intercepted. Champ Bailey in the end zone. Down the sideline, Bailey, 30, 40, foot race. Bailey stepped out of a tackle. Champ Bailey, 30, 20.
Here comes Ben Watson out of nowhere.
15, 10, 5, did he get there? He's hit out of bounds, I think, at the 1.
She thought she could hawk him down like DK Metcalf did Buda Baker on an interception.
It was unbelievable how much ground he made up. That had to be 10 yards on a very fast Buda Baker, and he just tracked him down.
But turns out it looked a whole lot like Deion Sanders chasing down Bo Jackson in college, because she got caught with a stiff arm. Look at the hair again.
Supposed to, but actually refused to. So you got to see it again anyway. Thanks to replay, of course. Bo Jackson.
Downfield by Freddie Wagan. Deion Sanders there in time, but can't drag down the powerful Auburn running back.
I had to come across the field to get Bo. I went and got Bo.
You went and got him?
But when I got there, Bo...
They released the no Diddy cam from the hallway so we could see the spectacular stiff arm this man unleashed on that harlot. Probably was looking like Adrian Peterson's 64-yard touchdown run in 2009 to kick off the season.
And he'll add to that total. Breaking into the open field. And he shoves away one, shoves away another, and blasts his way into the end zone.
This glute-tattooed OnlyFans affiliate, cum-guzzling, hair-hatted hooligan was hawking this man down for an undisclosed amount. Now, I heard before he took off, $1,837.
$1,838. I got it.
If this man was getting charged $1,837 for some I would have took off too. Who the fuck paying that much for that shit? I understand you got to pay one way or another, but fam, what's going on here? Furthermore, why are we not talking about the fact that there was already another harlot who was recording inside of the hotel room? Was she there to take the transaction, or was she also partaking in the services?
You's a freaky ass nigga.
If that was the case, I'm assuming they would split the total revenue between the two of those doggone harlots. But man decided he wanted to take off on the bill and showcase his 40-yard dash.
I got it.
Was 75% away from making the biggest tackle of her life. She could have been heralded in the media as Mike Jones, St. Louis Rams Super Bowl 34 tackle at the 1-yard line to win the Lombardi Trophy of prostitutes.
McNair drops, throws right side for Dyson. He dives for the end zone. Didn't make it. He came up 1 yard short. Didn't make it.
But instead, she done forgot that despite the fact that Terrell Lewis plays linebacker, he transmogrified into Mike Allstat. Barry Sanders up this motherfucker. Let me use a more modern reference for the casuals. Turned into Derrick Henry. Kristen McCaffrey ran through her and then ran away from her. Look how they was stride for stride through the first 5 yards, but at that point, she done ran out of gas.
I got it.
For Terrell Lewis, this is something that I want to know. Was this something that was premeditated prior to you even having the session? Or did this pop into your mind as a thought during the session or after you heard the price? If you didn't know what it was ahead of time, did this happen after the session was completed? Because for absolutely no reason at all, man's turned into... Streets was saying after Terrell Lewis done hit the stiff arm on the wall, he was going down the hallway like...
He could never save. I run up, put the arm in the door, hold the elevator.
Me personally, if I'm the GM for Philadelphia, I would consider possibly switching this man's position. Bring in Ariana Grande, make it official.
Switching the positions for you.
But if you don't feel comfortable leaving him on offense, put him on kick return. We got new rules. Throw stuff against the wall, see what sticks. Leave him back there to go return some doggone kicks. I promise you, he'll be able to do something. Because when I saw this footage, immediately I thought,
You want to talk about a playmaker? That's a playmaker. He made the play.
I was running away from her like I was running away from my student loans, but I'm still curious as to what was the status of the other harlot who was recording. Because what's the probability of you getting something like this on film? Is this just some way of verifying the transaction? Or perhaps they just wanted to have some video so they can prove that this gentleman just so happened to inquire on her services? Was this other lady just so happened to be a participant? Nobody's addressing that. But I did take a look at Twitter, and I just so happened to see that this particular harlot decided to come out and go crazy on how this man just so happened to be cheap. But ma'am, you're a prostitute.
Well, somebody call the police.
You're a prostitute? A prostitute.
That woman belongs in jail.
Call the authorities.
We are the police.
We are the police.
The police of Haiti.
The police of Haiti.
Shut him in jail. You go to jail, you son of a bitch. All right, hold him there. You go to jail.
Now, here's my 2 cents on the situation. Personally, I've never indulged in purchasing of adult services from a harlot, let alone 2 in this particular situation. But anybody who's ever been inside of a hotel room, usually the bathroom is right at the door, unless you're in like a suite situation, but maybe about 95% of the time, the bathroom is at the door. If you wanted to run off, why would you wait until it's bolted and then you gotta go and do all this extra stuff to get outside? Now, granted, he had a masterclass technique. Motherfucker like me would have had to have a battle at the door and then get outside, because I would have probably pulled before taking off that bolt lock. But kudos to him, he must be a professional in this particular manner. But why did he not just start from the bathroom? Tell those harlots, give me a second, let me get my clothes back on. If it was premeditated that he wasn't fixing to go and pay. If it was a spur of the moment, then that's on him. But one way or another, I saw they took to Twitter, and the people was out here, harlots was in an uproar about how this man, despite making hundreds of thousands, arguably millions in his career, and having that, which I'd highly doubt that he just so happened to have millions, but that's a different conversation. But how is it that he could run out on a bill? Well, he has leverage. Because for all intents and purposes, you're a prostitute, ma'am. So with that being the reality of the situation, if I pay, great. But if I don't pay, the fuck you gonna do? Unless you got that tool, that fire on you to be some form of equalizer, who you gonna tell? You gonna call up the police?
I'm afraid I've got some bad news.
You going to jail. You're going to jail.
Don't get me wrong, I'm a man of integrity. If I was in Terrell Lewis's situation, for all intents and purposes, if we agreed on engaging in coital affairs and there was a price that was set, and we engaged in said coital affairs, and now it's time to pay up, if we had already agreed upon that, you gotta go and pay.
Shut up and take my money.
You're a prostitute. you gonna call? The authorities? Officer, I had this man pay me for pussy, but he running out on the bill. Well, did you have sex with him? Yes. Is this considered prostitution? Well, yes. So you want me to arrest him for not paying? Well, yes. Where are you located right now? I'm at so-and-so and so hotel. Okay, cool.
Ladies and gentlemen, we got him.
So why do you have me in cuffs? Because prostitution is illegal, your pet. You thought the court of public opinion was going to work out for you? The only people who come into this lady's defense is harlots and individuals who just laughing about the situation. But for all intents and purposes, ma'am, you're a prostitute. Of course he would run out on the bill. You didn't have the right checks and balances in place to not leave an opening for this man to escape. And again, I'm not saying he should have, but I understand. Now, initially, I was gonna wait to make this response video the moment that I was scrolling through her Twitter X feed, and I just so happened to see that she said an interview with no jumper was loading. So,
oh my God, who the hell cares?
I was waiting on possibly having that so I can utilize some footage directly from the horse's mouth. But then I said, you know what? It's better if we wait for that to come forth, because I came across another tweet where she said, I had his hairy ass tooted up in the air. I put my finger inside his asshole and it felt loose.
Yo, what the fuck?
How dare you try to run off on me? You told me you loved it when I fingered your hairy asshole.
Nasty bitch. Hey! What you talking about?
Well, LSU fan came stuck his finger in my booty. Bitch, I don't play that shit.
What? You said what?
Now, hilarious tweet, but let's just consider what was said here. Because if in the event this was the axe that was engaged in the midst of the session, you think this is going to be attractive to other potential clients? Because let's call it what it is. If you happen to be able to get an NFL player to now go and purchase your services, other NFL players or people within that circle would probably want to inquire your services on the low, of course, in situations like this. But if you were to run out on the bill, or maybe you just so happen to have your emotions stimulated to where you're now angry or whatever the case is, if you're willing to go publicly and try to shame somebody in a smear campaign, despite the fact that you already had footage of man's running out on the bill, wouldn't that now attract those customers, or I should say repel those potential customers from you? You're doing more harm than good. You may get some influx of subscribers on your OnlyFans, or maybe some additional attention just for the drama, but if you were looking for more clients, they're probably going to go in the opposite direction, because you over here disclosing what transpired in the midst of the session. Because you could sit here and say you put your finger in his booty with his freaky ass and it just so happened to be loose, or perhaps he just so happened to enjoy you playing with the chocolate starfish while searching for said prostate. But this looks bad on you, because if this is now a joke of a situation for you and you're shaming him for it, why would somebody who just so happen to have that kink but doesn't want it to be publicized come to you for services, ma'am? You hustling backwards, Japet.
Nobody believes in you. What are you prepared to do about it? Don't let no one come into your house, take your meal, do what you need to do today.
Why is it that dudes, whether it be in Hollywood, whether it be in professional sports, always shuffle and juggle the same women? There'll be a girl who got a child with this dude, or was dating this person and dated like 6 different players from multiple various different leagues. Why are you going towards this person when there's always these fresh other individuals who have no ties to anybody else, who just so happen to be colleagues or teammates, whatever the case is? But I understand why they do it, regardless of the fact that I do think it's stupid majority of the time, but there's a familiarity that exists there. Because you know you have certain people who'll keep their mouth shut, but more often than not, it ends up coming back to bite you in the ass. In this case, he probably was referred by somebody, but one way or another, you've got to be very diligent in what it is that you're doing. Because if you're gonna go and make a payment in this case for coital affairs, you're better off just paying and avoiding the hoopla than having a situation like this where you tried to run off on the bill, but you ain't peep shorty was recorded. Because anybody, I would assume, who's in a scenario like this, where you in a hotel room with a couple of harlots after doing the deed. If you knew you was fixing to run out on it, first thing you should have done was disposed of shorty phone. Because if you wasn't checking your 6, you wasn't checking your 9, your 3, you wasn't looking around, you should have peeped shorty recording, because it's very difficult for people to mess around and record on the low. Unless she mess around and got them Ray-Ban Meta glasses that record from the actual frame, and she holding a phone, more often than not, it's very difficult for people to make it seem as if they're not recording when they're recording. Most people make it obvious.
I got it.
If you knew you wasn't fixing to pay, you should have never been in the position to where the chase could have been at where it was.
Bitch telling me 100. All right, I'm gonna get that to you. Slaughtered that hoe. Got up out there, bitch. Look, I'm running down the hotel hallway in boxers, nigga. She putting her clothes on, trying to come get her money. I ain't got it, man.
Shuttle time into 10 yards was magnificent. After it passed 10, it was over. Shorty started damn near knock knee, and she was looking like Kenny Smith trying to make it to the board on Inside the NBA. RIP to the show next year, by the way, but that's neither here nor there. Congratulations on Charles Barkley's eventual retirement. I got the Redmont vodka right here to celebrate and commemorate you, brother, but that's not what we're here to talk about. One way or another, this man got to be smarter in his affairs moving forward, because he's moving incredibly stupid. Oh, and last but not least, I just felt like this should be said, only because people on Twitter is saying that, well, after she tagged all of these coaches and NFL owners and media pundits, that this man is gonna mess around and lose his job. I can promise you, this is gonna be something that they laugh about in the locker room and in the front office at that, and then move on. Because if you think prostitution and things of that nature isn't something that's commonplace at that level in the NFL, let alone Hollywood in professional sports, you've got another thing coming. Wasn't it Robert Kraft a few years back caught in a brothel, whatever the case is? You think these owners don't mess around and have their circle of women, escorts, if you will? You think these players don't mess around and just be flying people out left and right? This is just a situation to where he just so happened to get caught. The only people who's gonna be embarrassed is himself and his family. But as we know how social media operates, because he's not a prominent player, give this a few months and it'll be a footnote in 2024. Motherfuckers not gonna remember this by the time the NFL season come around. Let him mess around and get cut. Well, that's the end of the story. Unless he becomes some sort of superstar or a household name in the NFL, which he hasn't thus far, ain't nobody gonna remember this. We gonna laugh about it for the remaining month of June. Matter of fact, summer starts this weekend. We won't be talking about this come July. I can promise you that. Unless, of course, you know, the No Jumper interview just so happened to go viral, and then there's more details that just so happen to drop there. But furthermore, I don't see anybody really caring about this long term. It's just something to laugh about now. But one way or another, because y'all wanted to go and move sloppy, you're running down the hallway. I got somebody getting ready to intercept you. Chris!
Oh, no. Oh, no.
Here comes the United States champion, Chris Benoit.
You mean to tell me you watched the entire video but you haven't subscribed? Hit the subscribe button and become a member on Patreon or on YouTube to get access to the Discord. We're waiting for you in the Shadow Realm.
Just do it! Make your dreams come true!
Please! Please!
What are you waiting for, huh?
Oh my God.